Using a site like strangebanana.com, we can see that the look of a page can be changed very easily using cascading style sheets, often abbreviated to CSS. So this is the same website 6 different times. It's exactly the same content, but they all look very different because of the style sheets that have been applied to them. They have sidebars on the left or possibly the right hand side. They have breadcrumbs along the top that could be centered or right or left aligned, and the colors and fonts that have been used have been changed for each different site. We are going to use CSS to improve our template page. We're going to use CSS formatting using expressions, and this tutorial should show you how to apply these to all of your web pages. You should note first of all that CSS uses things called selectors, and the way that we write them will change what it is that gets selected. If we put a dot in front of a name, we are using a class, and that can apply to lots of things on a page. If we use a hashtag, then it's an ID, and it would only apply to one thing on the page. We've already used elements like header or nav to be able to choose parts of the page, and we're going to use now today double elements as well, where we use nav and TD to select just the buttons at the top of the page. This is my basic, very plain HTML page. You'll notice that I have a lorem ipsum placeholder text inside the article tags. So I've put some text in to show me what some of the text will look like when I apply some formatting to it. So I'm going to start just with the header here. Notice it's in a tag called header. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new style. So over on the right hand side of the page we've got apply styles and manage styles, and they have a new style link here. So I'm going to click on new style, and you'll notice that immediately it comes up with .newStyle1, which is a class that could have applied to lots of different things. I want to just format the header, so I'm going to delete what it says there and put header instead. And notice we have a drop down list here that lets us make sure our spelling is correct. I don't want to define the style in the current page. I want it to be a style sheet that's applied to all the pages. So I'm going to swap this down to a new style sheet. And I'm then going to start to make some changes to my header. So for example, I might want to take a font, and I might want to go for something like Arial Black, but that font might not be available on the phone or on the computer that the person's using. So it's much better to use a family of fonts. So I'm going to go here for Impact. I can change the font size to something like extra large, since it's the heading on the page. I can change the color of it. This is my pet web page, so I'm going to choose something that's a bit like fur. And none of these are particularly good colors, so I'm going to go to more colors. It pops up this hexagon of lots of different shades, and I want to take something that's a bit furry, maybe this kind of brown color here. I click OK. Notice incidentally that each color has its own hexadecimal values, which is the 3 shades of red, green and blue that go together to make that. So I can click on apply. Now watch here, this is my header, and when I click on apply, it'll ask me, do I want to attach the style sheet? And I'm going to say yes. And it's put in a URL of untitled1 here. But you can see that the header has now taken on these new properties. I can say OK. The other thing that's happened is that in my site, untitled1.css has been created. And that's not a particularly good name for it. So I'm going to go to this CSS file here. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to call it something like shop style.css. And I'm going to save that in there. And when I go back to my template here, you'll see that it has updated shopstyle.css in the link that's been placed in the head. And I'm going to do a save all so that it's updated all of my links. Now, it's not the most standout title in the universe here, so I want to make some changes. To make changes, I'm going to go either to Manage Styles or Apply Styles, and then I'm going to right-click on the style that I want to change, which in this case is header, and choose Modify Style. Don't add a new style, modify one that already exists. So I'm going to click on Modify Style. What else could I do to my header? Well, I could give it a background color. So I'm going to go to Background. I'm going to choose something maybe quite pale. So maybe like a nice pale green here, like that. And click OK. And this is what it's going to look like. I could give it a border. So I'm going to go to Border. And I'm going to make it the same all the way around. So I'm going to make it have maybe a double line. And I want that double line to be nice and thick. And I want it to be a different color. So maybe a kind of dark red like that. And then I can click on Apply. And you'll see that it has then changed what the page is going to look like. So you can apply various different options here for things. Particularly you want to change the font, you want to change the background, and probably give it a little bit of a box round. So that's me created my first style. What I'm now going to do is to try styling the aside and the main article. Now, to do this, I need to apply various different options. So I'll come back to the top buttons in a moment, but I want to style up the section, aside, and article tags. And the idea here is that the section is a box that we put the article and the aside side by side inside them. And it's a bit like Russian dolls. They have to be put inside each other. You can't have it half closed and half open. So I'm going to go over to my Apply Style section. I'm going to put a new style in. And the new style is going to apply to the section. So starting typing section, it appears here. Notice that this is going to go into the existing style sheet called shopstyle.css. So I'm using all of my styles in one file here. I'm going to go to the layout, and in the layout tag there is a display section. I'm going to drop that down and I'm going to choose table. So the section is a table and that will hold elements within it. That's all I need to do with that, so I'm going to click on OK, and that has been applied, although we can't see any changes at the moment. I'm then going to go for another new style, and this time the style is for the aside. So aside is appearing, it's in the same style sheet, and I'm going to go to the layout of that one, and this time I'm going to go for display, and I'm going to go to table cell. So this is a cell within the section table. Now to see what's going on, I'm also going to make some other changes to this. So for example, I'm going to go to the font and I'm going to choose maybe a different font to the main heading. So I'm going to go for something like Georgia and Times New Roman. I'm going to go for a font size of medium. And I'm going to go for a font color of blue. I'm going to go to the background, and I really want to be able to see this sidebar as different from everything else. So I'm going to choose a background color, and the background color is going to maybe be a deeper green than the header. And I'm going to click OK there. And I'm going to apply that to the aside. Now you can see that it's stretching all the way across the page, and because Expressions is such an old program, we'll not be able to see the full thing until we see it in a browser. So I'm going to say that's okay. And then the aside's been done. I also need to do the article as well. So new style. Make sure that I highlight everything and do the article. It's going into the existing style sheet called shopstyle.css. I go to layout, I go to display, I make sure that's also a table cell so that it's side by side with the aside. And then I can make some changes to things like font here. So I might want to make it maybe a sans serif font, so maybe Gill Sans. Font size, I'm maybe going to go for large. Let's have a look at what that looks like by clicking apply. Yeah, that's okay. Maybe I want to have slightly different colors. So the color of my font is going to be this maroon color. And then my background is going to be something quite pale, maybe a pale grey like this here. And if I apply that, then you can see this is what my text is going to look like. So I'm clicking OK, and we have styled up most parts of the page there. I will do the navigation bar in a separate video, but I also want to finish off and just do the footer as well. So I'm going to go to New Style. I'm going to go to the font family. Font family on that. I'm also going to go for the Times New Roman. Font size, I want to be maybe extra large. Font weight, I'm going to make it bold. And I'm also going to underline and overline it. And again, I probably want to put a different background on just so that I can see what's going on. So background color, I'm going to make that a darker grey. So more colors and maybe a nice dark grey like that. If I apply that, oh, sorry, I forgot, and I made that into new style 1. So what I should really have done was change that to footer. And I'm going to apply that. That looks much better. And by mistake, I've then got this new style 1 thing. So I'm going to go to manage styles. And I think it's actually managed to update that. But you can always click on something and choose delete if you don't want something there. Okay, so here is my page without the navbar done. And I'm going to do file and save all. And it's important you do save all rather than just save, because you need to save the page and you need to save the CSS template style sheet as well. Okay, now you can see this is not acting as a sidebar, and that's because of this old style software we're using. But if I go to File, Preview in Browser, and then open that up inside Chrome, then you will see that it is actually working as a sidebar when we put it into a proper browser. So we've got our lorem ipsum text, lots of it, so that we can see what lots of paragraphs are going to look like. We've got a header that has been formatted, a footer that's been formatted, and our sidebar and article are side by side, showing us what our page should look like. So that's all for this section. We'll move on and have a look at doing the buttons in the next video.